All right, so in this video, I have two goals. First, I just want to give you kind of a high-level overview of Event Manager, registered.com. Kind of what is it, what's it do, why should we care, and how could it possibly help us here in Florida? And then second, I want to give you some, actual live examples of how our current subscribers are using the system to not only better manage their hunter education and kind of basic ed classes, but to also promote many of their R3 initiatives and outreach efforts. So, to start, I think it's best if we jump over and just talk about the three main audiences here related to Event Manager. So, students, instructors, and administrators. Event Manager is a system that's going to better connect agencies with their public, specifically related to the events that the agency is hosting for those students. So, starting kind of at the bottom of this list here, when we talk about the administrators, the goal of Event Manager is to give you guys a tool that's going to help you to facilitate whatever class it is that you're teaching. Maybe it's basic hunter ed, maybe it's boater ed, maybe it's photography or a dove hunting clinic, right? Whatever the event is, we want you to have that tool that's going to allow you to easily post it online, to easily manage the roster, and then to derive data and conclusions from that class that you could use, for the overall betterment of your agency. Now, for the instructors and on the admins, I won't go into a whole lot of it, but we can get into our reporting and how that works with the U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service, so on and so forth. But high-level overview, we'll just jump into instructors. The main goal there is we want to give instructors, again, an easy, user-friendly experience and tool to post their classes out there online for student registration. And then once that class is posted, we want to give them a tool to easily manage their roster, to communicate with those students, so on and so forth. Now, I would argue that our primary focus should be on the students, right? Because that's kind of why we're all here. The goal of Event Manager related to the students is to give them quick and easy access to information. We live in a now world, and students really want information on the go. And in our user testing, we often hear that the bounce rates are rather high on state agency sites because the information is cluttered, it's hard to access, and students don't really like that experience. So our main goal with Event Manager in the student perspective is to make that information easily accessible, right? We want them within 5 to 7 seconds to get all the information they need to make a decision on whether or not they want to take a class. So, kind of jumping into a few things here, just wanted to point out that all of the states in orange use Event Manager for some aspect of their agency programs. I'd encourage you to reach out to any and all of those states to ask them about their experience. You're probably going to get, a variety of feedback. If you talk to Indiana, Kentucky, or Tennessee, they tend to use Event Manager for the more basic applications of just managing, say, hunter education. Whereas a Pennsylvania or Colorado, Arizona, they put a lot of emphasis into outreach. So they're going to use that data that they capture from the basic ed programs to push, their outdoor skills session or their mule deer hunting clinics or pheasant hunting seminars. So just a few fun examples there. Now we'll jump over to the system and actually talk about what it looks like. So again, I want to jump into the agency kind of instructor view first, just to show you the ease of posting a class online. If I want to schedule a class, this is how easy it is. Now, I have some spotty Wi-Fi, so you're going to see it being a little slow to load. But let's say we want to hold a class on the 19th. It's as easy as saying what type of class do we want to teach. I can name it whatever I want. I'm going to type in the location, and it's going to pull from a pre-existing data log in Event Manager to say, looks like you want to teach at Bass Pro. Perfect. Set the capacity, special instructions, so they could type in, whatever you want here. And then you just have to select your, start time and end time. So we're going to start early and we're going to end late. And we're going to be here for 2 days. Right? It's easy as that. You've got all these options down here so that you can determine, is this a public or a private event? When will the event be visible to students? When can they register? When can they cancel? So on and so forth. So I create the event, and now it's going to be posted live to the public calendar. Okay, so now that our event was successfully created, we have our roster management page. Now you can see we don't have any actual students here, so what I'm going to do is skip over to my enrollments so that I can show you a roster page that actually has a student in it. So we have a traditional hunter education class here, and if I wanted to, just so you can see multiple students in the roster, we can actually add a student here. So I'm going to go ahead and add a student. Okay, so now that we have a couple people on the roster, I can talk about all of the other bits of functionality on this page. So as an instructor or an agency admin in this case, you could add a student, you can invite a student, you could add or remove instructors because frequently people will teach with their buddies, teach on a team. You can upload or delete files, and you can enter results. So all of the functionality needed here to really manage those classes. Let's talk a little bit about the results because that's pretty important. So now that we're on the results page, you can see that we have event information. Now this is data that we would work with you guys to configure and customize to your liking. You can see in the case of this demo course, the only thing we care about is did we charge a class fee, yes or no, and what language did you teach this course in. Now, again, that's all configurable, so we would work with you guys specifically to say what's important to you. That way you have the data you need going forward to be successful. Okay, if we jump back here, you have the student results and instructor information. So the student results are pretty straightforward. In this case, it's just going to be did they pass or fail. And again, that's fully configurable so that we can just make it a show or no show, whatever you guys needed that data to be. This is pretty important related to hunter education. We actually want to collect the instructor hours dedicated to this class. Now, we've worked with the Fish and Wildlife Service to customize this form for the audit process. So we know that the feds want states to be capturing those hours by day, by category. So you can see we automatically break it down to say, looks like you had a prep day on the 29th, the class was on the 3rd and the 4th, and if you need to add another date, it's as simple as coming in here, adding the date and the type of hours. And then what you're going to do is you're going to actually e-sign for these hours saying I hereby declare that they are true. And there you have it. Now we've submitted our instructor information. So key takeaway here is that anytime you have an event, you have data, and you're going to want to report on that data. So we will work with you guys to configure the data collection process and fields so that you guys have all of the information you need to be successful. The next thing that I want to talk about is actually, as an administrator, how do you access that data to use for your various outreach or marketing campaigns. Okay, so now we're logged in as an administrator, and what I want to do is show you the various reports that we have built into Event Manager. The Event Registration Map. This is an interactive map that's going to help you better understand kind of the supply and demand of your state, right? We're going to be tracking the web traffic per program to kind of say, here's where students are searching for this type of class, but here's where you're holding the class. So this is going to give your state a better feel of whether or not you're meeting the demand in certain areas. Lots of color here, and let's just kind of walk through what these colors mean. So again, if the goal is to understand where are my students searching from, that's the various shades of green that we have in these counties. So you can see the darker the shade, the more web traffic that we have. So naturally, you're going to want to see more dots in those counties because that's where you have demand, so you want to make sure that you have supply of classes, right? So it looks like Arkansas is actually doing a pretty good job of meeting the demand in their state. But this is a really useful map for you guys to have just because on a per program basis, you might have more search volume in a given county than you might have realized. And it's good for you to have access to this kind of data in real time. And again, it's not just the map. We're going to give you everything in a CSV format so that you can export it and slice and dice that data the way that you need to. Okay, let's jump back to the other reports. The other thing we want to look at is registered student list for specified events. This is where if you wanted to go in and say, give me all of the hunter education students from the month of September, drop those into a Constant Contact or GovDelivery, some kind of email marketing service, this is what's going to give you that student data so that you can continue your outreach to those students because we know these are probably high intent customers. If they've already went through hunter education, it's pretty likely that we're going to be able to convert them to maybe a outdoor skills class as part of our outreach effort. Student demographic summary, pretty self-explanatory. Student results summary, instructor activity summary. So this is what's going to tell you on a per instructor basis how many classes did they teach, students did they teach, hours did they work, so on and so forth. Got the instructor results audit, which is effectively the same thing, being honest. The inactive instructors list, self-explanatory. And then you've got a couple others down here, which basically help you just better understand how your classes are operating across the state. So now let's jump over and look at a real-time application in Arizona and look at how they're using event management to not only run their hunter education, but also their outdoor skills and events. So if we have mentored workshops here, right, this kind of falls under that category of outreach. So you have outdoor skills. If we click on this button, it's going to bring us over to registered.com, and this is where they're posting all of their classes. Now on the back end, what you don't really see is that Arizona does a great job of utilizing the student data they capture and all of their other classes to promote these classes. So oftentimes the people that are signing up for the Unit 36A, 36B deer camp, they've probably been contacted by that state agency in some way, shape, or form. Oftentimes it's by email. But if we just look into kind of the classes that they're hosting here, you've got all kinds of hunters camp, free family get outdoors event, dove season opens, right? So you have all kinds of classes and opportunities here for Arizona's general public. So let's just look into one of these. We've got an archery, javelina, deer, and small game hunt camp. We've got the when, we've got the where, we've got the special instructions. So at a glance, I have everything that I need. I even know where the class is being held. So I have everything I need here to make a decision. If I wanted to go register for this class, again, we've worked with the state agency to configure this registration form so that they're capturing everything that they need. Okay, so we've got obviously first name, last name, but this is also a great opportunity to survey your students. If you want to learn a little bit more about them, ask some questions during registration, right? What is your hunting and fishing experience? Have you ever hunted waterfowl? Right, they're learning all kinds of things. This is effectively a survey as part of registration. So that just kind of speaks to the flexibility of Event Manager to help you learn more about your students. So that's just one example of Arizona, but if we were to go back to Colorado, Arizona is not the only state that's doing this, right? Colorado is also going to have some outreach classes. So if we look and see what they have, Colorado Outreach, they've got field dressing, pheasant hunting, ice fishing basics. One thing that I really want you to take away is that, oftentimes we talk about Event Manager specifically for management of hunter education, but it's so much more powerful than that, right? You can hold literally any class that you want to via Event Manager, and that's a really key takeaway when we're thinking about outreach and R3. You get the point. The flexibility of the program, it's going to allow you to manage not only your hunter education classes and just help reduce your overall agency overhead around those opportunities, those classes, but it's also going to allow you to use the data that you capture in Basic Hunter Ed to drive your What's Next classes. So at this point, I hope you've learned a little bit more about Event Manager and how our other states are using it to further their outdoor skills and outreach classes. If you have any questions at all, just give me a call and I would be glad to talk about it. Thanks again for watching and hope to talk to you soon. Bye-bye.